1, 2, 3, 4. What up, y'all? Babylon 5 Podcast. It's your boy Jermaine Events. It's episode 55. I don't have a name for it. I'm watching Game 4 of the Bucks versus the Heat. As I'm speaking, Eric Bledsoe just hit a 2-point basket. We are now up 101-100 with 4 minutes and 40 seconds left. Giannis got hurt. He went out. He left the game in the second quarter with an ankle injury. He had an ankle injury that he sustained in the last game. He re-aggravated it in this game, and he's out for the rest of the game. All right. Lopez just hit a 3. It's funny, I was saying to my wife, because I was reading this thing last night that was, or it was either last night or this morning, that was stating that the Bucks actually play a lot worse when Giannis is on the court. They actually get outscored. They've been outscored by 34 points while Giannis is on the floor. And it's actually the worst, like, plus-minus ratio for any player on the Bucks. And I'm like, saying to my wife, I'm like, that's because when Giannis is on the floor, they literally just give the ball to Giannis and let him try to, fucking do the greatest things in the world, things that people have never seen before. And it's like, and he's comfortable with that, which is pretty gross, to be honest with you, because they'll just hand him the ball, and it's like, all right, Giannis, make something happen, and everybody just stands around. Nobody's like running, nobody's moving over here trying to get like space, trying to like just free a man up. Nobody's setting screens. Everybody just stands around and lets Giannis work, and because of that, they're double teaming him. They're building this wall around Giannis, and it's shutting Giannis down. And they're still not like, oh, hey, somebody else needs to make some baskets. Everybody else is just simply playing like shit in this series. But now that Giannis is not in the game, they can't rely on Giannis. They're playing a lot better. They could actually possibly squeak out a victory here because Giannis isn't on the floor. And it sounds crazy, but that's actually what's happening. The way what I just explained to you, the way that they just give it to Giannis is like, oh, he's the MVP. He's the defensive player of the year. They want him to make every play on both sides of the court. So I'm not into that. Not into that at all. I still think Chris Middleton is dope, but I think maybe it's best he play elsewhere, simply because for the amount of money that he's paid to be here, for this level of inconsistency, like, he's good, but not for that amount of money, when we need an actual scorer. We need somebody we need like a Dion Waiters on this team. You know what I'm saying? I thought Marvin Williams was an instant bucket. I'm not so sure. We need the hoopers on here, ladies and gentlemen. We need the hoopers. I thought this nigga Wes Matthews was a hooper when we signed that nigga. Man, I'm disappointed with, All right, it's 104-102 Milwaukee right now with 3 minutes and 10 seconds left. I've always been frustrated with Bledsoe. Actually, right away, when we first traded for him, like, right away I was thinking, ooh, this might have been a mistake. Because I was expecting, like, they were saying, like, oh, he's mini LeBron and all this shit. He just hustles so hard. But then right away I'm looking at footage of him doing this, like, run to the left and then just do this pull-up jumper Doesn't matter if he's contested or not, and he just takes the shot, misses it repeatedly. Just like he has these bad tendencies, and I was seeing it all, and I was like, fuck, I don't know if this was a good idea. Like, he was just a big name at that point. He was a big fish in a small pond out there in Phoenix, you know? What did we trade for Eric Bledsoe? I think it's too much. I think whatever we trade. And then we gave this nigga more. Oh, when we gave that nigga more money, I was like, fool, we should have waited. You know, we should have waited and let him test free agency. Maybe something would have came. Because, like, Giannis is a beast. People would want to play with Giannis by that point. We didn't need to sign Bledsoe to a long-term contract. I was thinking it's funny because you know how, like, the players have certain messages on the back of their jerseys, and I'm like a super MMA fan, and it's like, why don't you have any, like, they don't have any, like, Kobe Covingtons in the NBA? I'm sure there are Kobe Covingtons in the NBA. They're just not open about it. You're telling me every single player, no matter their race or background, is liberal? Is that what you're telling me right now? Because that's what these jerseys are implying. You know? I thought it was funny because you got the white guy, I think Duncan. His jersey says Black Lives Matter. And I was thinking, dude, it'd be so fucking crazy if one of these white players had an All Lives Matter jersey. And it's like, does he not have... Well, they probably didn't approve that message. They probably wouldn't approve that message just to spark, because... But I'm just saying. And you might be like, yo, Jermaine, you're crazy. Why would you even suggest a thing like that? Well, do you remember a few months ago, after the George Floyd murder, and things started getting a little dicey? Then they started getting a little dicey. The NFL... I forget which owner came out and said, like nobody was going to kneel for this team. Like, somebody came out and still said something against the kneeling. Or maybe it was it was Drew Brees. Drew Brees spoke out against the kneeling. You know, we thought Drew Brees was our nigga, repping for New Orleans. But Drew Brees came out and was like, nah, he ain't with that kneeling. He doesn't agree with people kneeling. He doesn't agree with black players protesting police brutality. But everything was going crazy, and the NFL hit Drew Brees up, and then he issued a statement like, you know what, I take it back. I didn't mean that. And then the NFL was like, yo, we fully support black people in their protests of what's going on right now. Because they knew the NFL was about to get canceled. They saw the trends of what was about to go down. And it was like, Breeze, your career is... Breeze's career is pretty much over. They could have let him, die on that hill, if that's how he felt about that. It's like, my nigga, check the room. Are you even checking the room, Drew Brees? Breeze came out and said he still didn't understand. He didn't agree with this kneeling right when this whole shit started. And then he... out of nowhere apologized, and then the NFL was like, yo, we support. So I think it's funny that in the NFL you can have players like Drew Brees, Brian Urlacher. I mean, he's no longer in the NFL, but he's a representative of the NFL, like, speak out openly. Brian Urlacher said he supports the shooter from Kenosha. You got Brees can say these things, but it's just funny to me that everybody in the NBA is liberal. That's just funny to me. I don't believe it. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys social medias. I don't think I have. If you guys want to follow this account on Instagram and Twitter, or follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You can follow my personal account at My Name's Jermaine. You can email this podcast at babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You can go to babylon5.podbean.com. You know what's crazy? As I'm saying this, I'm like, I was thinking in my head, like, when's the last time I fucking checked the email. I'm sure nobody's emailed me. Like, because I was like, fuck, I don't think I've seen a notification, but, like, maybe I don't have it synced. If I don't, I don't have too many, I only have two. I don't have anything synced. I guess I gotta sync all that shit. So, email the podcast once again at babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You can follow this podcast at babylon5.podbean.com. You can listen to this podcast on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere podcasts stream. If you got Xbox One, go ahead and add me. My gamer tag is SauceBoss414. You can watch me play, hopefully. When I went on Twitch, as I said last week, none of my videos are saving. So... And then the people that are following me aren't getting notifications when I'm playing. So I don't know what's going on. I had to figure it out. I got to figure it out. But go ahead and follow me anyway. Go to twitch.tv/Babylon5 and just keep it open. Just keep the app open. Just wait. I'll say, actually, when I get some more stability in my life, it's a long story. But when I get some more stability, a little more idea of what my day-to-day life will be like, after a couple weeks here, I'll try to, I know I've said that before, but I need to try to, like, actually get a schedule. And, like, if I'm going to game at this time, I'm gaming at this time, and that's just it. You know? I gotta do that. So go to twitch.tv/Babylon5. You can watch me game. Go check out the merchandise, buy some. Go to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. Go to patreon.com/Babylon5pod. Be my patrons. I uploaded IDgress 6, and it was blocked by YouTube because I was listening to Say Hello by Jay-Z. So I've been pretty lazy about it. I'll probably do it after this podcast or tomorrow or something. I just got to go in there and cut that part of the video out and then re-upload IDgress 6. Was going over... the Dragon Balls, the latest issue of Dragon Ball Super, which I'd say was the most important part of the whole thing. You know? Me listening to Jay-Z was just, I think it was just like part of it because of, with I Digress, it's more loose. I just put that on like while I was just like getting ready to go and just start going off about or just do the Dragon Ball thing, but anywho. So the other day, my friend Heidi, shout out to Heidi, I saw this post that she had, and it was like all these black people explaining their experiences. It was just like, it was a thread, and they were talking about just different times they've had encounters with police, and some of them like fucking really brought back like fucking memories for me. I was like, holy shit, like, sorry, I just, it's 106-107 Miami in the fourth quarter with 8.9 seconds left. Bucks have the ball, and they just, the Miami Heat just called the timeout. I'm trying to look at this post. I'm trying to find this post real quick because I'm gonna tell my story, but I want to go over some of these. Here we go. It's like I got pulled over once because I didn't have my lights on. It was daytime. The cop said I should anticipate the sun going down and turn them on because it gets dark at 7:19 or whatever random time he said. It was like 5-something. Pretty interesting story. I remember once me and some friends got pulled over and had our IDs checked. After seeing African names, he asked if we had any bombs or rockets in our car and tried to illegally search us. I was reading it, and I don't have an African name, so that, I didn't experience that. But a lot of these stories, pretty crazy. One time I was walking home from the Boys and Girls Club at 16, and a pair of cops pulled on the sidewalk just to stop, frisk, and slam because they thought I fit the description of a grown man walking around with a gun. You know, I think I said this before. It was one time, like, on Brady where the cop car did this, I was walking home from fucking Snap Fitness, and they fucking drove up like on the curb, like, and like he just stared me down. I like jumped, like, what the fuck? And he stared me down, and then they just drove off. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just like, I was lucky that time, you know, that they didn't stop, frisk, slam, do whatever the fuck. Y'all know what? Y'all remember? If here in Milwaukee a few years back, there was a lawsuit against the police department because they were stopping people in the street, putting them in vans and doing illegal strip searches in the middle of the city. That lawsuit just came out a few years ago. Wasn't that long ago. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like whatever they wanted to do at that point. But I go through these instances. There's so many people that don't. I was saying to my wife, like, do you have any, like, stories? But she, you know, she's never once just been stopped and harassed by the police just for being there, you know? But me, I'm looking at this, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. I've been there. I had a gun pulled on me in front of my home after it was robbed. Cop thought I committed the crime. I was also in my military uniform. I have 9 more stories. I'm tired. Got pulled over in a nice neighborhood. The driver was white. I'm in the passenger side. Police only came to my side. Only asked to see my identification. Only asked me questions. And after running my name in the system, they said they still didn't believe that I was who I said. Which brings me to my story. There's more of those stories in there, but I was just like, fuck, I almost forgot that happened. Because there's so many, like, instances. I was like, fuck, I almost forgot that happened. But I remember one time the homie Deucalion was performing at the Miramar. I was like 19 or 20. It was definitely not 21. I remember that much. I probably was like 19. And Deucalion had just performed at the Miramar. And I think he had the band with him at the time. It was like these young kids that were pretty fucking dope. I remember I had never heard the song Electric Swords. And he had them play that beat for one of his songs. It was the first time I had ever heard it. It was like when I went and saw, like, they were rehearsing at this church over on 43rd and North, over there on Sherman. It's like smaller church, not the huge church. It's like across the street from the huge church. And they were rehearsing there, and I was in there, and they did that. They played that. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. I ain't never even heard this before. You know? But anywho, so Akil Deucalion, that same person, he performed at the Miramar. I was down there with the homies, you know, I was down there, Ryan Porter was down there. So me, Deucalion, Ryan, my boy John Tomzak, and a bunch of other people. Deucalion's sister Imani was there. We head to Erin Dietz, this girl Erin Dietz, she was there, and she lives pretty close by. We head to her house for like a little A-bar situation. And I think she might have had a little bit of alcohol, maybe a few beers, but not enough to get everybody in the room fucked up, you know what I'm saying? Or even a decent buzz. So we quickly, me and Ryan, knowing our buddy Sleepy at the time sold Nick sacks, we were like, yo, we got a guy. The weed won't be best, but we can go grab some weed, like, right down the street. And everybody's like, oh, word, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like Nick sacks or whatever weed. And, like, whatever weed, in my opinion, is like, if you buy weed in the hood, most of the time, probably like 80% of the time, it's going to be like terrible, low grade, like low buzzed weed, you know? That's what you're going to get from the hood. But 20% of the time, you're going to come across some like dried out, really good shit. And it's like, fuck, they don't even realize what this is right here. I'll buy that whole thing out, sir. For $5 a sack. But it was like, that's how it was. So, you know, we explained that there's the $5, there's the Nick sacks of whatever weed from Sleepy. And my boy Sleepy had the deal. You buy 5 sacks for 20, so you know what I'm saying? Niggas threw down. We was gonna go get some weed, get blunted up. Niggas is finna kick it. It's the A-ball. My boy Ducalion just put on a show, you know? But I know Sleepy, Ryan knows Sleepy. John has a car. I think he's like the only one of us there that had a car. So he's gonna drive us over. He's gonna drive over there. I'm coming. And I think, like, Ryan just wanted to come with us. Ryan, John, white guys. Me, African Americano. We walk outside of Aaron's house, and, like, right away, like, John kind of, like, was like, hey, there's, like, a cop car parked down there. He just, like, kind of, like, polite, like, just said that real quick. You know what I'm saying? So... Oh, it's overtime. I didn't even pay attention. Bucks are in overtime. Playing a lot better without Giannis. Might I repeat. Might I repeat, if I do say so myself. And we get on the porch. He says that. And so we just walk to the car. You know, we're not wilding out in the car. Mind you, we're not, like, drunk or anything. Because we just came from the Miramar and we weren't 21 at the time, so we couldn't buy alcohol. Like, we were like fucking flat sober. We just got there and we were like, yo, let's go get some weed. So we went to the car. John gets in the front seat. Well, John's driving, so he gets in his driver's seat. I get in the shotgun. Ryan gets in the back seat. And John turns on the car. As soon as he turns on the car, the cop car turns their lights on and they come up on us. Officer Schwartz. As I mentioned in a previous story, I would have this interaction with this certain officer, like, repeatedly. It was like, just like, anytime, like, I was always on the east side, but it would seem like every other day he would, like, stop me for whatever reason. Even if I was, like, walking in the street, Officer Schwartz would stop me. But it was one time I explained on this podcast where me and Rashid were racing for shotgun, and Officer Schwartz saw us running, and got out of his car and pulled out his gun. I saw him. He had his gun in his hand, the flashlight, and he was running like low, like as if trying not to be seen in a way. But I had already, like, I heard the brakes, and I looked back and saw him get out of the car, like, with his gun and, like, low and, like, run our direction. And I'm like, Rashid. Nigga, I thought we was going to die that day. Officer Schwartz walks up to the car. This is probably my third interaction with Officer Schwartz, to be honest. So, Officer Schwartz walks up to the car. And he walks up to the passenger side where I am. And he goes to his walkie-talkie and he's like, he's wearing a yellow, green, and black jacket. And he's like, what's your name? And I tell him my name. And he goes into it. And he's just like standing there. And I'm like sitting there. I look around at John. I look at Ryan. I'm heated. I'm like, yo, I'm not the only one in the car. And Officer Schwartz goes, excuse me? And I was like, yo, I'm not the only one in the car, and you only described me. And John hit me with the whitest voice I had ever heard. Now, a little backstory here. I've known John since K5. All right? John is white. but I've never heard him use a voice this white before. All right? I start yelling at this cop. Okay? Because I'm like, I'm not the only person in the car, yet you've only described me. And John was like, hey, it's okay, Jermaine. Just relax. I was like, I'm looking like, who the fuck is this guy? Who is this guy? He's like, it's okay, Jermaine, relax. I'll never forget it. I'm like, what? Who are you? Like, he's never had a hood voice. You know what I'm saying? Like, where I went to school, I was like one of the only black kids there. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it wasn't like he was ever a hood person. He just talked like a white dude. But in that day with that police officer, when I started yelling at that cop, he went super white. And I thought that was pretty great. But, and for whatever reason, John was able to de-escalate the situation with his super white, like, oh, hey, it's okay, sir. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, John was able to de-escalate the situation at some point. And the cop says, like, oh, we're sorry. Officer Schwartz says, oh, we're sorry. There's just been a lot of robberies in the area lately. Which is the same thing he said to me when he ran at me with his gun with Rashid, when we were running down the street, like, racing. And he came at us with his gun, and he was like, oh, I'm sorry, there's been a lot of robberies in the area lately. Like, he's been coming at me. He tackled me after the party. You know what I'm saying? Like, Schwartz has been coming for me. Like, he tackled me. Cuffed me up real swift. Like, chipped my tooth. He's been at me. He was at me for a little while. You know what I'm saying? He was at me. But John somehow calms it down, and he says there's been a lot of robberies in the area, blah, blah, blah. And they let us go. And we leave, and we go pick up weed. We come back, and we get fucking blunted, and we drink. And it's just like, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck, dude? It's like, had he pulled this over on the way back, he probably... Like, we would have had hella weed on us, you know what I'm saying? Like, we would have smelled like weed because we would have went over to Sleeps, smoked at Sleeps, and then headed back, and we would have smelled like weed. But, like, nigga got us on the way to get the weed, trying to front like, oh, yeah, it's been some robberies. But I'm just like, man, this nigga came up to the door and it was as if John, the driver, and Ryan in the back seat did not exist. And you're telling me that you're stopping me because there's robbery. You're stopping all three of us. You're stopping this vehicle because there's robberies in the area, and you're only describing me, yet you're not interested in the individuals that I'm with, while you think that there's just cause to stop one of the individuals there with this group of people, but you see no reason to question the other people there with that individual. That made no sense, dude. Makes absolutely no sense. If there was any truth to why you're fucking only talking to one person here, if robberies are really the thing, you should be talking to everybody here. If you feel the need to speak to one person here, then fucking find out where everybody was. Find out who everybody is. That's just my opinion of the situation. But I was like, fuck, dude. Reading that thing, going through the post, I was like, fuck, there's a few of these that I have lived through. There's quite a few of these. You know what I'm saying? There's quite a few. Maybe the Bucks can pull it out. It's 111, 109, 43 seconds left. Maybe do it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you niggas seen one of the latest editions of the Joe Rogan podcast or listened. He had Miley Cyrus on there. I decided to throw that bad boy on there. It's a pretty interesting interview, actually. You guys should check it out. But the thing that I thought was the most interesting was she spoke about her head trauma when she was young, and how she feels like that really affected her and really makes her the way that she is, like kind of eccentric in the way that she is. She said that when she was like 2, her dad I think she said she was like real shy. She's a real shy and timid kid. And then her dad was on a dirt bike and like put her in like the baby Bjorn. And like he ducked under a tree, but clearly the baby, the 2-year-old, couldn't duck under the tree quick enough and fucking cracked her head. She had this head injury. But they said, like, she said ever since then, she was, like, way more outgoing and like, completely different personality. And they were explaining, like, that story happens to a lot of people. And I was like, fuck, man, I think that happened to me, you know? Well, I didn't, my father didn't put me in a baby Bjorn while he was riding around on a dirt bike. That didn't happen. But what I do know happened was one day I was just fucking running full speed in this little corridor, a little hallway, I think in the Grand Avenue Mall. Probably in, like, it's like an old school walkway. I don't know if it's like the walkway from Chase Bank to the mall. I don't even know if that Chase Bank existed back in those days, to be honest with you. I don't think it did. I don't remember that being there when I was a little boy. But it was like some walkway, whatever was there, and I was just like running. I think my brother was running, or maybe he was at first, maybe he stopped, but I was running full speed. I think we were racing. And I remember like just still running full speed. I like looked back while still moving forward, and I like turned around and boom, full speed, like ran into this like fucking metal door, my nigga. Had the fucking hugest hematoma that you've ever fucking seen. I remember my mom, like, I think she had like a newspaper, and she was trying to like just hide it. Like, 'cause she was like, people are gonna think I beat the shit out of you. Like, how huge this fucking hematoma was. Like, my whole forehead I looked like a fucking alien. But I'm thinking, like, man, ever since that day, maybe I've been a little more wild. You know what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? I remember young Germ back in, because my memory is weird. Like, I have no short-term memory at all, but I have, like, pretty decent long-term memory. And I remember, like, in daycare, like, just wanting to be better at the shit that they were teaching us than everybody else. Like, if we needed to memorize the spelling of our name, like, I remember this spelling of our name and then our birthday, I was like, well, I'm going to memorize this before everybody else. Like, I just had that mindset. I was going to do everything first, you know? I was super on it. But, I don't know. I'll say after that, I had different focuses. I don't know if the correlation is there. I don't know if something happened. I never went to the hospital to get it checked out or anything like that. But I would say I became a little more of a wild boy. I don't know, maybe I've always been a wild boy, you know? Maybe I've always been a wild boy. I think I got both a little more eccentric and at the same time the sadness came in. I think that's where the sadness started. I think that's when I started to be really much more pessimistic in life. But I don't know, those are interesting moments. There's like people like Rosie O'Donnell and shit like that. Or no, who was it? Roseanne Barr got like hit by a car. Apparently she was more quiet and hell yeah, Middleton. Fuck yeah, Middleton. My boy Middleton just hit a fucking 3. It's 116-112 in overtime, 6 seconds left. Fuck yeah, Middleton. They play better without Giannis, at least against the Miami Heat. And you know why that makes sense? Because the Miami Heat's whole game plan is to shut Giannis down. And once they get away from that game plan, they're playing man-to-man ball. So now, whoever this fucking kid is, Tyler Herro, a fucking rookie, has to beat Chris Middleton on both sides of the ball. People have to fucking actually beat their man. Because they're not just handing it off to one player. They can't just focus on stopping one player because they have to actually play team ball now. Who would have thunk it? Who would have fucking thunk it? Let's go, Chris Middleton. Let's fucking go, Chris Middleton. You know what happened here in Wisconsin? I wanted to say Milwaukee, but I guess it's not necessarily Milwaukee. If you go a little west of Milwaukee, you'll get to Wauwatosa, ladies and gentlemen. And very recently, there's some letters that got sent out from the Whites of Wauwatosa, ladies and gentlemen. The Whites of Wauwatosa want to keep Wauwatosa white. All right? They want to keep the blacks out of Wauwatosa, and they want to keep Wauwatosa safe. Nigga, please. That's all I got to say about that. Tosa's a weird place. Tosa is a weird place because I think that's the same. In Tosa, there was a mom very recently that was saying her children are not going to wear masks because it's satanic, and her kids are Christian, and they're not going to wear those satanic masks. Tyler Herro's a beast, though. Y'all got to put a body on him, at least. Now it's a 1-point game. But the Bucks, I mean, we're up. We have the ball. It's a 1-point game. 3 seconds left. We could pull this out. We could get a W, ladies and gentlemen. We could get a W. So, yeah, the lady in Wauwatosa said her children will not wear those satanic masks. Wauwatosa is a weird place. We already knew this. And whoever these Whites of Wauwatosa are, we don't even know who these fucking people are who put these letters there. Are they real people? I don't know. Could be trolls. Could be somebody who just wanted to make the news. Who knows? Could be real people who think this way, but fuck them. Fuck them. I mean, I was about to say, I ain't got no business in Wauwatosa, but I mean, not that I don't have any business in Wauwatosa. I have no interest in Wauwatosa, is what I'm personally saying. That doesn't speak for every black person in the city or alive, for that matter. I just, personally don't have much interest in Wauwatosa, per se. But I don't know. It's kind of crazy. For so long, I mean, especially before Trump, when we had Obama in office, niggas kept trying to make this argument that we lived in a post-racist society or whatever. And it's like, nigga, no, I live this life. No, it's not like that. It is as racist as it's always been. If anything, it's worse than it's ever been. That's what black people have been saying this whole time. And now here it is in the forefront. So, I'm not surprised by this. They've talked about how repeatedly, every 2 years, it'll be like, oh my God, Milwaukee is the most segregated place in blah, blah, blah. And it's that's why you have fucking, when Black Lives Matter protests, if they just want to walk through Shorewood, you have old white ladies who spit in a black child's face, parks her car in the street, because that's just how this place is, man. So I'm not surprised when racist shit happens in the suburbs here, or even in the city, but especially in the suburbs. They've always wanted to keep black people out of the suburbs. They've always wanted to keep black people out of Tosa. They've always wanted to keep black people out of Brookfield. They've always wanted to keep black people out of Menominee Falls. They've always wanted to keep black people out of Shorewood. They've always wanted to keep black people out of Whitefish Bay. Bucks win the game, ladies and gentlemen, 118 to 115. We get one. Ladies and gentlemen, we get one. Without Giannis, they're forced to play team ball. Who woulda thunk it? Who woulda fucking thunk it? Team basketball. In the NBA. Fucking crazy. UFC this past weekend. You had Michel Pereira, all right? Michel Pereira took on this guy. I don't remember his name. I didn't take notes, but he got his ass beat. My boy Michel Pereira beat this nigga ass, and he's fucking cold. If you've seen videos of Michel Pereira doing backflips, like flipping off of the cage or just doing a backflip onto somebody's head, just like completely illegal moves, just jumping around, doing high-ass crotch chops. Matter of fact, I named one of my episodes, I think his last fight, my episode was called Crotch Stick, because this nigga was doing these high-ass crotch chops, nigga. And he's just known for being super flashy, and at the expense of himself. He usually gasses himself out at entertainment's sake. You know what I'm saying? But in this fight, the last fight on his contract, might I add, he was very controlled, just stuck to the basics, and he just beating the shit out of this guy. Meanwhile, the whole time, he's just like dancing, like not even looking at his opponent, head turned away, just dancing. And then the guy would come close, like the guy would like walk toward him, and he would just fucking light him up with this fucking right cross, and every time he's fucking landing on him, he's just fucking hurting him. It was just fucking crazy. Crazy. This man was a beast. And he is a beast. You know what I'm saying? But he always does this shit for entertainment's sake. Hell yeah, Giannis. We got one, buddy. We got one, big baby. We got that for you, big baby. But yo, he completely dominated in this fight. In the what I saw this morning, I saw it before, but I forgot. Michel Pereira in the face-off against his opponent like slapped him. And in this fight, Michel Pereira like repeatedly would like kiss his own hand, the inside of his, he would kiss his palm and just be like, come on, and then just slap the shit out of this dude. He just would repeatedly slap the shit out of this guy. And he's just embarrassing this dude until the third round, where he just decided to put it on him, and he just beat the shit out of him with these crazy, just all kinds of strikes. He's so strong. When he's landing on this guy's like flying back. And it was the same thing with Diego Sanchez. I felt like when he was landing on Diego Sanchez, Diego was flying. And like you see the look on Diego's face like, holy shit. He's getting touched, and he's like, holy shit. And that's what's happened. That's what happened in this fight. And in the third round, he really started to put it on him. And then he like tucked his back. Well, he got the clinch on this guy, and then like went to his back and just like lifted him up in the air, slammed him down in the ground. Fucking, I think maybe he went for a little bit of ground and pound, or just went straight for the neck and like choked him out immediately. Like the guy like tapped immediately, or the ref like thought he tapped and stopped it too early, but he fucking just put on a show for 2 rounds, and then in the third round decided like, all right, I'm gonna put it on him, and just went in there and to dominate. It was pretty fucking amazing. And I think if he could fucking put it together and actually stay focused in there, Michel Pereira is gonna be a fucking problem at 170 pounds. He looks fucking powerful, and he's so fast. His striking, the way he slips punches, like when he was just focused on just fighting and not doing flashy backflips, all kinds of crazy movements, flying knees. Whenever he was doing that, like, he would start to miss, and like his opponent would have an opportunity to jump in on him and get a strike, jump in and try to take him down. But once he just stuck to the basics, stuck to his kicks, his basic strikes, he couldn't be touched. So hopefully we see this more controlled Michel Pereira going forward, because he looks like a fucking beast, and he wasn't tired at all in the third round. because he was completely controlled the entire fight. He looks like he could be a fucking problem. I would love to see him in his next fight. I would love to see him take on either Mike Perry or maybe Jeff Neal in his next fight. But he is a fucking beast. And I'm usually not a fan of his kind of showboating, but it's like if that type of showboating in the ring is your whole brand, it's something you do every single time you go out there, that's how you make your name, then I'm not gonna hate on you for that. All right? Because you're going out there and you're proving it. You're still doing it. You danced in that guy's face. And his name's Zalim Imadiv. Yeah. Fucking embarrassed that guy. In the co-main event, you had Ovint St. Preux taking on this guy, younger guy, Alonzo Menifield, newer in the UFC. Ovint St. Preux, just the longer veteran. He had the length advantage. He was a lot taller. He had the reach advantage, and he stayed on the outside, used his leg kicks to make it so that Alonzo couldn't get inside and get to his range, and Alonzo would have to like try to blitz in just to get in on St. Preux, just to force the action, just so because he was just getting picked apart from the outside because St. Preux is so long. And ultimately in the second round, Preux caught Alonzo coming in with a counter left hook, and it knocked Alonzo out cold. He fell flat on his face down, ass up. Ref jumps in to stop the fight. So shout out to Ovint St. Preux. Out in light heavyweight, we can see what he can do. You know, with John Jones not there, that fight is a little more exciting. You know, now it's like, okay, Ovint is going to move up. Now, who is he fighting next? Because he could definitely be a player at 205 now that John Jones isn't there. Now that you don't have the hurdle of John Jones, I'd be interested to see what Ovint could do, like, rejuvenated against a Dominic Reyes, against a Jan Blachowicz. I'd like to see him, like, go for the belt again. I'd like to see it, you know? I'd really like to see it. In the, I don't know who I'd like to see him fight next. I'd have to look at the rankings. You got Alistair Overeem, who took on Augusto Sakai. You know, I was like, I'd have to look at the rankings. It's like, we'll look at the rankings. They're right there. My nigga's not ranked. St. Preux's not even ranked. And Alonzo Menifield's not ranked. I know St. Preux moved up to heavyweight in his last fight, so maybe that factors in. But St. Preux could, like, easily come. I could see him still stepping back in there, fighting Nikita Krylov. He could see him easily beating Anthony Smith. I could see him beating Volkan. I'd like to see him fight Yuri Prochazka. That'd be a cool fight. There's some interesting fights up here for him at 205. I think he could definitely beat Paul Craig. I think that'd be a good fight, actually. That'd be a real good fight. Magomed Ankalaev, that'd be a good fight. Shogun Rua, I don't know how he's still in the top 15. Got Ryan Spann, number 12. Johnny Walker, 11, which I think is pretty inflated, to be honest. I think that's pretty inflated. Yeah, I think Ovint should be popping right back in that top 15 in the next couple days here when they update the rankings. At heavyweight, you had, in the main event, Alistair Overeem took on Augusto Sakai. I counted out Augusto Sakai. I thought it was going to be a complete domination by Alistair Overeem, but in the stand-up, actually, it was fairly even. If anything, I would give the tilt to Augusto Sakai in the stand-up, because whenever he would come forward with his strikes, Alistair Overeem would simply back forward. He would just keep going back forward until he got to the until he got to the fence. He'd get his back up against the fence and then simply wait until the second that Sakai stopped striking to throw a counter strike. That's how he would do it repeatedly. So Sakai was consistently just landing, just getting through the guard and just landing these nice strikes. But Overeem was taking it. And he was bouncing off the cage, coming back, and eventually Overeem in the third, I believe it was in the third round, takes Augusto Sakai down, and pretty much that spelled the end of it. Once he was able to take him down, he was able to just take him down at will and just beat Sakai up on the ground, and ultimately he was that fight was finished in the fifth round. 26 seconds into the fifth round by TKO stoppage, ground and pound. It was like they walked in, they started that round, Overeem tuck him down to the ground, and the second he went to the ground, Augusto Sakai just flinched, turned his face away because there was nothing he could do. He was completely tired out from the grappling, and he was already getting beat the fuck up on the ground. And he got hit once or twice. I think after he got hit the first time, Herb Dean jumped in and was like, fight back, which I liked that. You didn't need to just sit there and let him just take a fucking horrible beating before you're fight back. You see right there, Overeem had him on the ground. He had the control of his hips with his legs, with the position that he was in. Then he also had the wrist control. And the way he was positioned, he was just wide open to catch strikes. So he hit him the one time clean, and thank God, or whoever, Herb Dean just came in and was like, fight back. And then he maybe hit him once or twice more, and Herb Dean stopped it, thankfully, for Sakai. But Alistair Overeem, he is who we thought he is. But no, I didn't think it was going to take that long. But I mean, he didn't attempt a takedown until later in the fight. So, but once he did that, once he got the takedowns in, he pretty much controlled the fight. Sakai had nothing for him on the ground, but was pretty even with him in the striking and even in the clinch. But it was a much better card, much better main event than I was expecting. I said last week I wasn't too interested in it. But I even said on my Instagram post, I was like, this doesn't look like the most attractive card, but that's usually when you get the best fights. And those fights on that card was a pretty good card all night. Let me, before I move on here, shout out to Hunter Azure. He had a good fight. Viviane Araujo. Shout out to her. She beat Montana De La Rosa. Brian Kelleher got a win. Shout out to Brian Kelleher. Andre Muniz. Shout out to Andre Muniz. It was only 7 fights on that whole card. It's a pretty good card. Next week in the main event, you got Angela Hill taking on Michelle Waterson. I'm pretty hyped for this fight. I'm going for Angela Hill. All right. Once she did the Joe Rogan podcast, I was like, she's fucking hilarious. And she was explaining how long she's been training and when she started fighting, and how she was in the UFC with basically no training at all. and Joe was like, oh my God. And she's like, yeah, I shouldn't have been in there. I was like, dude, what the fuck? But now she's just a beast, racking up wins, always game to go out there and fight. And she's got a 5-round main event against Waterson. This is going to be a fucking amazing fight, hopefully. I think she posted that she's the first African-American woman to compete in a UFC main event, so she's making history with that. She's a beast. I'm a fan of Angela Hill. And then I just recently found out that Waterson is a fucking MAGA person. She's a MAGA guy. Karate Hottie is a MAGA guy. Fucking Dana White, who spoke digitally or virtually at the Republican National Convention, there was a tweet about it, and Waterson commented on it, saying how Trump is the leader that does what he can, so we in this that does what needs to be done, so we in this country can do what we can or what we want to do. And I was just like, whoa. I'm usually I don't know why, but when minorities when they support open racists, I'm like, holy shit, I didn't see that coming. My boy, Mike, he's a white guy. Dude, I'm pretty sure I saw an article where he was, like, being, like, a really good, like, mentor to Mexican kids. But this nigga is a full-on Trump supporter. Like, shit doesn't make any sense to me. You don't see how racist the guy you're supporting is being? You're not going to be like, hey, guy. What was the meme I saw? It was like, not every Trump supporter is racist, but every Trump supporter decided racism wasn't a deal breaker. And that's the fact. I don't know why. He hit me up. I was, like, getting ready to, like, put my album out. I think it was like 11:30 at night before the album came out, and he like hit me up to tell me that he was a Trump supporter. And I'm sitting here just trying to make sure that like I don't even know if everything is uploaded to like Spotify, you know, that shit. I'm like sitting here freaking out, and he's hitting me up like, yo, I just wanted to let you know that I support Trump. I think blah blah blah. I'm like, nigga, like, okay, bro, I'm fucking freaking out over it. Freaking out, man. But, yeah. Anywho. But Michelle Watterson is a MAGA guy. And she's a minority, and it just threw me off. So for that, I will definitely be rooting for Angela Hill. In this one, I would like to see a stoppage. But I don't know. I mean, Angela Hill, Watterson has a lot of experience. She went in there. She went 5 rounds with Joanna. You know, iron sharpens iron. So I don't know. I think that's the saying, iron sharpens iron. So I think it's going to be a really good fight. I'm kind of happy that that's 5 rounds now. It's going to be a tough fight, but I'm pulling for Angela Hill in that one. And I see no other way around it. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the social medias again. If you guys want to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You can follow my personal account at My Name's Jermaine. You can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. And you can follow this podcast at Babylon5.podbean.com. You can listen to this podcast on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere podcast stream. If you got Xbox One, go ahead and add a brother. My gamer tag is SaucedBoss414. You can go ahead and watch me play with myself at twitch.tv/Babylon5. You can check out the merchandise at teespring.com/stores/BOFpod-shop. And go ahead and be my patrons at patreon.com/Babylon5pod. It's episode 55. Go Bucks. Nah, I don't know if it's Go Bucks. Episode 55. It's Jermaine and Ben. I'm your host. Hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you in a week. All right, peace.